Good morning. Let me preface this video with the fact that this is a Writing 101 class. However, today, as you see, there's an empty classroom. That means the 6-7 students that I have for this class elected not to attend. Not a reflection of me, I hope, but mostly a reflection of Halloween. They have deep-rooted religious beliefs. As a result, they elected not to come to class today. So I'm pretending that I have a class here. Good morning, class. Welcome this morning. Today we will begin Module 8. Here's the objective for Module 8 in Writing 101S. At the end of the week of the module, perhaps in a couple of days, you'll be able to annotate and interpret passages from your article by applying a reading strategy. That's the objective. That's what you will be able to do at the end of this module. Let me give you an agenda of what we're going to do today. I'm going to first introduce key vocabulary. You'll see the key vocabulary on the board, and then I'll tell you how we're going to proceed with this activity. I'm then going to model for you a strategy, a reading strategy. Then we are going to practice together. That is, in groups, you and another classmate will practice the strategy. Then fourth, you will begin to apply the strategy on the article you selected, that you will then perform a rhetorical analysis. Then lastly, what I want to do at the end of the class period is to review assignments and deadlines. Here are the materials that we will be using today. We will be using some candy that I have there, but also an article on Bob Marley, and then I'm going to give you red pens, and I will explain why we have a red pen. So for the time being, I'm going to introduce some key vocabulary. You may be familiar with the vocabulary. Nevertheless, I felt it was a good idea to review the vocabulary. That is the word annotate, critical, strategy, rhetorical, and apply. So what I would like for you to do, you notice that they're in different colors. I'm going to give each one of you a different colored dry erase pen. So what you're going to do, I'm going to give you a candy. I'm going to toss the candy at you to kind of wake you up this morning. You're going to chew on this candy. As you chew, think of what you consider to be the meaning of annotate, critical, strategy, rhetorical, and apply. You're going to come up, first of all, Mr. Munoz, you're not here today, but I'm giving you the blue color. Ms. Campos, you're going to take the green color. Mr. Jasperson, you're going to take the red color. Mr. Rodriguez, you're going to take the blue color, and then the black color goes to Ms. Dorsey. So when you're ready, would you come up and first of all line up in the order I mentioned and write what you think the word is or what the word means. So at this point, I would call the class forward. They would then circle around. So once the person assigned the blue color finishes, they would then move and then give their definition to critical, and then to strategy, and then to rhetorical and apply. This gives me an opportunity to frame a lesson and recall some concepts that we've covered for the previous week. Once this is done, I'm going to model then a strategy. The materials that I will use for this are an article on Bob Marley and then a red pen. So why the red pen? The red pen allows students to isolate detail, critical detail, facts, evidence that they're going to read from the article and highlight and remember this for their analysis. So let me model for you this passage. And what I would like for you to do is, I'm giving you a red pen and an article, and you do everything I do. This is going to take 2 or 3 minutes. And just copy me, and this will give you some points for the day. So here's what I'm going to do. The first thing is I'm going to read the article and then underline, double underline what I believe to be the thesis statement or the argument that the author makes here. And I've identified this relative to this article, and I double underline this. That gives me a clue as to what the thesis is for this particular article. Secondly, I'm going to then underline words or ideas that I think are interesting. So the thesis statement reads as follows: 3 songs in particular foreshadow, this is Bob Marley, talking about Bob Marley, his later work while preserving early artistic elements that would remain constants throughout his career, including the influence of the Bible and the theme of redemption. I neglected to mention, I should have asked of you what you know about Marley. I know some of you have mentioned him in class as a reggae artist, so that's why I selected this article. Secondly, I'm going to then proceed and underline words that I think, or key concepts that I think are interesting. And I've underlined wisdom teacher, the influence of gospel, and then the circumstances with the hopeful message inspired by Paul. Why did I underline those? I thought it was interesting given the fact that he said that in the thesis statement that there's biblical themes of redemption, and I thought that those were interesting. I'm then going to, on the margin, put questions, things that I'd like to have answers to. For example, what's the connection between reggae and the Bible? Then as I continue to read, I then underline other things. For example, here, I underline the most influential musician of the second half. So a magazine or New York Times called Bob Marley the most influential musician. I then am going to write on the margins questions I have. For example, I know that reggae, there's a prevalence of cannabis, and so I'm trying to find a connection with Marley, cannabis, and then how does the Bible come to play here? Also have a question here about what do Rastafarians believe. So as you read, write your questions on the margin. And then lastly, what I'd like to do is summarize, do a little summary of what I've read. So in short, what I've done is I've double underlined the thesis. I've underlined interesting things that I find in the article that may support the thesis. I write questions off to the margin, and then I circle words that perhaps I may not know, and then I summarize in, obviously in my own words, some of the ideas that are presented in the article. So what I'd like to do now is to move on to the practice phase. You've copied what I've done. I'm going to give you an opportunity to then practice with your classmate this process with the article that you brought to class on which you're going to perform a rhetorical analysis. That is an example of how I introduce lessons, and hopefully this will work, and I will submit this as part of the process to achieve online, to be able to teach online courses. Thank you.